Yeah, please, can you see my screen? Can everybody see
Yes,
my
yes,
screen? Very
yes, we
good.
can see
Yeah.
us.
Yes. So I'll take the slide very, very slow. I'm not going to be just proofreading it and explaining. I would touch on the basics and please do well. I'll read as much as I can also because I know a lot of people don't really like reading. So we'd read as much as we can, but we cannot start reading it word to word and all that, but to try our best to explain it properly. So what we have here is the architecture of Fiat, man, the mechanisms, the actors, and the anatomy of global monetary system. This is just the global monetary system. I'm not seeing it as a Bitcoin monetary system. So we just want to touch on it properly so people get to understand why Bitcoin. Why do you need Bitcoin in your life? Because if you decide to go 1 month marathon, working really, really hard, making sure that you're getting paid daily, depending on your skills and your labor and things like that. If you stack and save a lot of money, you might decide, okay, you want to go 6 months just studying, just reading. You want to go 1 year just reading, doing more of the research that you deprive yourself of just because you were trying to stack a lot of money or save a lot of money. That's what money does for you. If you save a lot of money, that money is going to save you for that 1 year or 6 months time that you want to do something else without working. So yeah, the history of mankind is the history of money. That's to let you know that money has been devalued since the time of Adam and Eve. They've been devaluing the money. The people that has the power to do that were doing it consistently without a second thought. Because a man will have to do anything he has to do just to make his family happy. So moving forward, it all started with a commodity money. In my honest opinion, that should be the gold. The gold and the silver, which is these are the commodity money, valued for their physical scarcity and their durability. They are scarce. A land is scarce also, which makes it people go for the right of property. Durability, it's a class. It doesn't corrode, it doesn't get spoiled and things like that. Recognizability. If you are familiar with gold, whenever you see gold, even if it's gold plated and not pure gold, you still think it's gold due to the shiny of color and all that. And then we moved over to representative money, paper certificates, packed one to one with the gold or the fiat, whichever one that you're going to be using to redeem it at an exact amount of metal. And then we move straight to fiat money. This one is solely backed by trust. Trust me, bro. Trust me, I will not go run away with your money. Trust me, I will not devalue the money. But it has been devalued since when they took it off the gold standard. When the Nixon shock, when you cannot redeem your gold for the US dollar anymore, and then that's when the gold peaks to $870 by the 1980. As hard money is absorbed by the states. The states, that's how Bitcoin is, in my honest opinion. Also, the fact that the states are coming in, getting to understand that okay, there is value in this particular digital currency. You know, so these are the reasons why we do not care because we know that nothing can happen to our Bitcoin. It's securely saved and stored in our self-custodial wallets. We hold our seed phrase. So what happened during the gold standard can never happen to our Bitcoin. Just a quick touch. The monetary paradigm shifts. This one now we got to touch on what the differences, the sound commodity and the fiat on sound money, the core backing, physical commodity, the gold and the silver. This whereas the fiat standard now, government decree and trust me, would not devalue the money. Derivation, natural physical scarcity. It's very scarce for you to go and start mining gold now. You need a lot of equipment. That's the proof of work. You cannot just go and print it out of thin air. Whereas the fiat now is enforced by monopoly. You have to use this money or we'll bomb your country. And then they made it a legal tender. But at the same time, when you have the US dollar, you can go anywhere in the world and spend your US dollar. That's where you know that this particular word is also a shitcoin on its own. Operating analogy, physical weight and measure. When you think about the weight, the amount of weight and security you to take for you to move your gold, $1 million worth of gold to get through the airport is an issue. Whereas on the fiat standard monopoly game, you have to use this particular currency. Every other currency is illegal. That's the monopoly game. That's how most, for example, whichever country, in Nigeria or the Ugandan currency, when you have different currencies where people save their value in it, that's is no longer monopoly anymore. You have access to spend or use whichever currency your community or your village decide to say that this is money, and everybody sticks to it. That's basically what the monopoly game is. Just the government telling us it has to be dollar or it has to be the naira in this particular jurisdiction. Primary risk profile: physical theft or loss. Anybody seeing you carrying gold would be like, okay, if he's capable of breaking your score and taking your money, would think about doing it. You know, that's basically what's when money is really, 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 really hard to make. You cannot just print it out of thin air. People start thinking about theft, loss, and all the basically basic things for them to actually acquire money. And then the almighty inflation always, and the counterparty risks when it comes to the fiat currency. There's always going to be increase in prices of goods and services. And then who is holding your money? Are they going to confiscate it in the nearest future? Fiat money, a money by decree, a money that the government is saying that it has to be money, you know, by decree, directive issued by an absolute authority, basically the government, because nobody can do that shit currently. The legal tender law, a law making it obligatory for all citizens to accept a specific kind of currency. This is the money that you have to be using in Uganda. This is the money everybody needs to be using in Nigeria, things like that. Whereas, and if you take US dollar to any country, it's spendable. But if you bring Naira down here in South Africa, you cannot spend it out here. No, anybody that wants to do that for you will take it and then give you do what they call exchange. They will exchange it, they'll take your naira and give you rands in the premium value. That's the only way you can exchange every other currencies in a different country. The concert, for example, this is the mechanism of trust, an example of basically what the bank or the fiat money is. A concert ticket, a paper that has no intrinsic value. You have to depend on the fact that Chris Brown has to give you a very good show for that particular ticket to be worth it. The banknote is no, it's no different. The paper has no intrinsic value. The value is the trust that the government will provide economic stability. They've never done that since the year of fiat money. Fiat derives its value entirely from its enforced monopolistic position. You have to use it or nothing. No other money is allowed. That's why people were threatened to give up their gold for the US dollar against their own will. It, that's you have there has to be violence for people to do that, because people did most of those things against their own will. And the people that did not do that were threatened of years imprisonment just for their own money. It's a very serious matter. That's why we talk about monopoly. It's not just monopoly, it is an enforced monopolistic position, and public confidence, basically, man. So the vulnerability of consensus, yeah. So now this Satoshi speaking, the root problem with conventional currency is all the trust that is required to make it work. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currency is full of the bridges of full of bridges of that trust. There's now no day. If put yourself in those positions, that's where you understand that, yeah, if you think about it critically, no matter how philosophical you feel like you are, when you're being trusted with the money that the whole world is going to use, think about it. You start thinking about ways to actually make profit for your generations to come. It sounds understandable, but when you're doing it against the will of every other person, then there's an issue. The dual nature of fiat, the pros and the cons, man. When we talk about easy things, the way things are easy to be done, and easy money and all those things, that's what fiat is. It's basically highly convenient for people to just swipe their card where they have their bank card and things like that to pay for transactions. And there's low physical risks. If you have your money in your phone, and the thief might not know the amount of money even when they steal your phone, things like that. The fact that you can't start carrying heavy metals, this gold and the silver, moving from one place to place, because that's basically how it's probably going to be if there was no paper money, things like. And you see that, okay, there's a little bit of thoughts that went into these positions of eliminating the gold and the commodity money just to get the paper money for portability. You know, that's these are the properties, these are the characteristics where Bitcoin is top notch. That's portability. You know, then the cons here: systemic danger, the inflation risks, the increase of the supply, the expansion of the monetary supply, devaluing the currency, melting the purchasing power of the ordinary man. Historically, risking hyperinflation, everything is probably triple, 10 times the price, things like that. It happens. You don't have to wait. Centralized control enables politically motivated banking manipulation and confiscation. That's what you get when you centrally trust somebody with a huge sum of money. Not just a huge sum of money, it can be any amount. But when you're trusting somebody, remember there's a central control. Somebody is controlling that banking system. Somebody is using your money for fractional banking reserve and the likes. Counterparty risks, complete dependency on the competence and stability of the issuing government, the government that cannot control itself, cannot control our money. Yeah, this report talking about if people really understand enough how the banking system and the monetary system is, the next day there will be a revolution. People will be at the bank fighting for their lives, man. But it's not that easy to just do those things because it's we trying to fight the government itself. That's basically what it is. So now the debt multiplier, yeah, this is basically how debt is being multiplied in a real sense. But okay. Now, when we talk about fractional reserve mechanism, a bank issued debts, that's basically the creation of new money. Yeah. And then there's a client that actually deposited that money. If I deposit $100, the banks can decide to loan out $90, man. That's Now it's within my $100, you're giving out 90% of my value with the hope that I would not want the whole $100 at a go in a particular period of time. These are the reasons why when you go to the bank, you want to pay your rent, a huge sum of money, the bank will start interrogating you. These are the reasons why they don't have it at hand. That's what the fractional banking reserve is. Your $100 or your $1 million or whichever amount, they loan out $90 million out of it. And then when you because they don't know when you're going to be coming for your money. They just think you're saving it for the long term and trying to get that interest rate. That's where you start thinking about how new money is created. And then banks are legally allowed to lend out significant portion of clients' deposit at any given time. The institution holds only a tiny percentage of the money clients believe is securely deposited. The money you think is in your bank account is obviously not in your bank account. Someone needs to say that. So please, I hope everybody can hear me and see my screen. It's been a quiet time. I was just ranting and confirm. Cool. Let's get back to it. Okay, so moving forward here, a system fueled by debt. This is basically how the system is fueled by debt. These are the reasons why there's hyperinflation. We're not really yet into but me, I see it as hyperinflation because the way things are getting expensive, the way just to live a normal life without going clubbing or without taking any vacation is already hyperinflation in my honest opinion, or in my own side. I don't know about your side or your aspect financially. A citizen, when once you deposit $100, the banks only leaves $10 for you to use with the hope that you're not going to be needing your $90. Magic chance. That's how the banks look to me. They legally loan out $90 to a borrower. The borrower now sends it out to a different bank. Now they still give out 90% of that same $90. That's how you're left with $9 with the hope that we both are not going to come asking for our money. That's why when you go, they start asking you too many questions. They start sending documents to this person to sign, things like that. Those signing documents of the CEO, if they don't have the money at hand because they've practiced fractional banking reserve, they have to start going to the CEO, the manager to sign a new money creation, which the government is basically giving them, bailing them out, because it's already legal for them to actually do this practice. That's the funniest part. A single physical deposit artificially expands into multiple layers of circulating debt, a debt economy. Profit is generated via the increasingly risky relending. The roots, that's the cause of the boom and bust. They enjoy the boom, but they hate the bust. But you cannot have both of them in an economy. One has to win the other. So this is a system of control, the ecosystem, a full chart of how the control mechanism works. The government on the other side, down to the central bank, who is going to bail out the commercial banks, your UBA and your Ugandan normal bank that you go to withdraw at the ATM, and then the wealthy people, the asset holders. These are the people that are buying real estate and stocks, and of which they can use their assets to borrow money from that same economy at a very cheap rate. And then at the middle here, we have people like you and I, that are just trying to make ends meet, trying to start our family and just trying to survive without clubbing and vacation. Emphasis on that aspect, because if you were lavishly spending and doing some kind of things, you would try to understand why you're unable to break even, or why you're unable to save a fraction of your hard-earned energy and time, but you're not doing you're doing the bare minimum. You're just living, paying your bills, trying to make sure you calculate your groceries, but still it's really hard to break even still. That's how you know that that system of control is not where we want to store our energy and our time. So the funding loop, the directors and the printers, the government, which these are the directors, basically issues massive new debt, treasury bond. I've never bought this shit in my life. That's one thing about Bitcoin. That's when I knew that, okay, I don't need all these, should I call it complex economics things for me to store my value. I think that's the reason why I just settled for gold back in the days, because at the end of the day, I knew something was wrong, but I don't really understand, you know, because these are the things where we talk about the fact that our schools do not really teach us about money and things like that. That's it, man. Because if we were taught these things, if we had this information growing up, maybe our lives, just maybe, our lives would have turned out differently. But God knows best. So yeah, so how the government controls these things are treasury bonds to fund infinite spending without raising taxes immediately. Doesn't mean that they're not going to raise the tax, but they're not raising it immediately now, because why? They have the big red button to press. They don't need to come to you yet. Doesn't mean they're not going to come to you. Emphasis on that. So like a credit card, like a credit card where someone else needs to fund that bill. You spent $5,000 on a credit card, but you are not going to be the person that is going to bear the consequences. That's basically what the government are doing. Spending outrageously, but in one way or the other, they are not bearing the risks, you know. So the result, yeah. Okay, let's still talk about the central bank. The central bank they operate the money supply. They can decide to leave it at 1 trillion today or increase it by 30 trillion exponentially. And then the independence of but purchases government debt. That's if you notice this arrow here, what this picture depicts here. The government and the central banks are interwoven. They need themselves to function. They need themselves to keep the bubble going. The central bank come up with one probably dumb or retarded central banker, and then he starts manipulating a lot of things, start feeling like a magician, and start telling himself that he's so smart to keep the bubble, to keep the boom going, but we all know that certainly, definitely, there's going to be a bust. where everybody would have to rush to the bank to withdraw their money. We will definitely not be rushing to the bank because we already know where we are storing our time and our energy. So yes, basically the central banks help the governments to print money out of thin air in a calculated way. The government cannot do that. The government have a lot of local government, state things, and federal things that is bothering them. So they need somebody that is going to do this calculation, lie to the public, discount the consumer price index and everything that they need to do just to keep that bubble going. But it is probably a short period of time, you know, acts as the lender of the last resort, bailing out big companies, bailing out big banks, bailing out any company that they do not want to go bust at a particular period of time. That's basically what the central banks are doing. If everybody goes to the banks, the central bank, the bankers knows that the central banks are there to bail them out anytime they cry out loud. So the profit loop, yeah, multipliers and asset holders. The financial sectors, which are the banks, empowered to pursue aggressive profit, high profit at that, fractional lending. They lend out 90% of your deposit because the central bank guarantees bailouts. They operate virtually free from consequences, privatizing profit and socializing losses. You make when it's time for happiness, when it's joy time, joy is here. When it's time for joy, the bankers and the government and everybody involved are enjoying. When it's time for the bust, you want to socialize the losses. You want to come out and tell us that, hey, we are bankrupt. We are going through bankruptcy. That's what companies do. That's why they come outside and declare bankruptcy. And at the end of the day, nothing happens, man. The central banks come and bail them out at the expense of the general public. So the wealthy individuals, they are already positioned closest to the money printers. Savings are held in assets, real estate, and stocks, and whichever thing that their retarded financial analyst is telling them, which appreciates as a unit of account. Because now, at the end of the day, they know they are the people that are renting out their properties to us. They are the people that are renting out their Airbnbs and everything that they are renting out. They know they are always getting, out here in South Africa, they're always getting that 10% increase annually. So that's already trying to beat inflation already. And then they use that same apartment, that same real estate, that same everything, and borrow money at a very, very cheap rate. The real estate, the apartment, and those places, they use it as collateral. But for me now, I can always use my Bitcoin as collateral. That's why I don't think about the wealthy individuals. We should start feeling wealthy the moment you start holding Bitcoin in a self-custodial manner. So the purchasing power curve, yeah, this is how the purchasing power curve is looking like. The fact that the elite, the wealthy people are holding assets, their asset values are in real estate, in things that are always going to go up, not really going up, but they know that in one way or the other, people would always want apartment and they are going to increase that same apartment by 10% annually. So the proximity is freshly printed money, and asset inflation shields them from depreciation. They already have their apartments on Airbnb, so they do not face this inflation that we talk about. That's why trying to educate the wealthy, those billionaires' son and the millionaires' son, I think is not the right way going forward, because these people are not feeling the pressure. These people are not feeling, they're not thinking every blessed day, how am I going to survive? How am I going to survive in the next 5 years, 10 years time, and things like that? Because why? They are close to the money printers. They can always get cheap dollar, cheap debt at any time. So, whereas the public, yeah, their cash savings, wages are constant. Wages remain the same. Your 100,000 salary remains your 100,000 salary. Whereas the cost of your living is rising on every blessed day. You're buying bread for 2,000 today. Tomorrow you're buying bread for 3,000. Where is that 1,000 going to come from? Where is the 1,000 coming from? If you don't have it, you don't have it. That's basically what it is. If you saved up your money, which is basically what the public does. The struggle to survive becomes a daily battle. Every blessed day, you're thinking of how to survive, not go on vacation or go clubbing. How are you going to survive is your daily thoughts. Imagine the stress that comes from that, the financial stress that comes from thinking about how to survive the bare minimum. Man. So yes, the debt, the global debt spiral, yeah. Like I said, it's always interwoven, yeah. The boom and the bust cycle. As a direct result of the Fiat framework, nations are caught in debt, borrowing exponentially more than they can ever repay. That's one thing. That's one thing when you think about it, knowing fully well that these people can never pay these debts. That's how you keep stacking your Bitcoin because you're anyway going to be doing very, very well if you continue accumulate stacking your Bitcoin and buying or earning it in whichever way. Geopolitical imbalance. Superpowers leverage this system to print endless capital, funding wars and global control without immediate financial constraints, creating a massive global power imbalance. The more money they have, the more money they print, the more jets, war fighting jets, those shit they talk about, and the amount of money that they put into those missiles and all those things, just because they have the sole power, the US dollar superpower to actually conquer every other country's currency. It is not this. I think this was years of building phases. It started from the ground up, and now they are here. They are using the superpower against every other country. But every other country, in my honest opinion, that are trying to that understands what's happening now, are trying to stay sovereign for themselves, which what's happening right now. We see that every other countries are trying to stay sovereign. Every other country are trying to fight back against these superpowers, the Uncle Sams. Okay, an orchestrated architecture. Then now this is basically not economics. This is engineering. Like I said, those retards, those financial retards that call themselves analysts, they engineer these things. The fiat system is an artificial construct requiring construct manipulation, endless depth, and absolute trust to function. We have to trust the system for the system to keep functioning the way it is. When we start slowly but surely deviating from these norms, this engineering system that is not economics, but the claim is economics, even from the teachings, from the Keynesian economics teachings, you get to know that okay, the best way to keep this going is to continue teaching the university and the college students that what they're studying is economics, whereas what they're doing on the other side, they're engineering the financial system. The monopoly board, it has to be our money. Our money has to be the biggest money all over the world, is how these people who are using the wealth concentration and not the bulk to actually manipulate it mathematically to guarantee a system where the bankers control the supply and guarantee their own bailout. They know that whatever, even if they make dumb things, even if they use your money to go and get holes tonight, if they decide to take your money, your deposit, your $100 deposit, and use it to go to Dubai and get a hole out there, they know that nothing is going to happen. There's always somebody out there, the central bank, that is going to bail them out. You think about that thought. When you think about somebody that you're giving trust to your money, can use your money to do anything because they know or because they feel that there's somebody out there that is going to increase the money supply and bail them out. It is a guarantee. So the silent tax, your time, your labor, your cash savings from the many are continuously siphoned to support the unchecked physical expansion of the few. You know, at the end of the day, the general public are the ones that are going to pay. When we talk about the general public, let's not just say general public. Let's just say the rich and the poor, of which we know that the poor are the ones paying these taxes. There's no middle class. People still feel like, hey, we are still in the middle because we can still get by because we are living from paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, we are the middle class because at the end of the day, I'm able to afford 20 rounds of bread, if even if it jumped from 16 rounds or 15 rounds down to 20 rounds. As long as I can still afford it, it's okay, it's fine. Let's keep the bubble going. So these are the reasons why the government still feels like they are capable and able to do everything that they continuously do. Okay, I'm glad that I was able to rush those stats that quickly. So please, yeah, if there's anything that I touched that you don't understand, or if you have questions for me, Or if you also have criticism also, please, let's welcome it. So we talk about these things on ground. From your own perspective, how was your government of your country? How are they making you feel like, hey, it's not easy out here? Hey, we got to do more. Hey, we got to get two other more jobs. Hey, we still need to we still need to make get 40 hours of work time in a week, you know, because that's basically what they are doing. Whereas on the Bitcoin standard, you can decide to actually earn it or use your fiat currency to stack it consistently. So I really would like to hear or questions. There's anything that I touched that wasn't clear to you, can quickly, we still have a lot of time to touch everything back hurriedly, because this is something. It's more like, why do we need Bitcoin in our life? We touched on the history, how we moved from the commodity money down to the representative money that can be backed one to one with the gold. If you have that same amount of metal in gold or in silver, you can actually redeem this particular paper certificate. And then we move to the fiat money that is backed solely by trust. Trust me, bro. Trust the government. They are able to stabilize the economy. They'll make sure the economy is going fine in the nearest future, things like that. So if there's anything that I touched or that I hurriedly rushed through, please call my attention and let's talk about it more. Hmm.
Okay, bit fitness. Okay, on my own, I'll say the ending part. Can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Okay, for the ending part, the one you just did right now.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I would say
Mm.
what you say. Like, can you just like re-explain again? I
Okay,
basically didn't get what you said during that time.
yeah, that's a good one, man. So you're sweet. Okay, so yes, what? See, if you from this heading here, an orchestrated architecture. These are not the governments. We must understand that the governments, the central bankers, are not dumb anyway. As much as they try to play dumb and things like that, they know, they are aware of what they are doing. Or let's say they are retarded. Let's still call it retarded, because in one way or the other, they feel that pressure also if they want to come back for second tenure as politicians in a government position. So that's not economics. Economics cannot be calculated. You cannot calculate that, hey, we have to borrow 1 trillion and send and give out what do they call those things they give out in America during COVID? Those, and give out stimulus fund. Let's borrow this amount and start giving out money to the poor and things like that, free coffee and all those things. Let's do that, and then we'll still keep the bubble going. One way or the other, we'll still take back the money from them through taxes, through making sure that they are unable to live, to even rent a house, to are unable to survive, even from the stimulus check that we funded. That's not economics, that's engineering. They are trying to use mathematical engineering procedures to actually handle a system that is meant to be free, a free market system. When you print money out of thin air without printing block, the amount of block to build a house is still 100 pieces. But then you printed money out of thin air. It's not, now there's more money than there's block in the market. Now the block industry is going to notice that, okay, too many people are coming to ask for our blocks. What do? We have to increase the price. That's where inflation starts to set in. Because now, like I said, you increase the money supply, you did not increase the amount of blocks, you did not increase the amount of goods and services in the broader market. You only increase the money supply, because that's basically what the government and the central bankers are doing in a debt spiral. So now, the fiat system is an artificial construct, very, very artificial, requiring constant manipulation, endless debt. That's basically what they're doing. Absolute trust to function. That the fact that the citizens know that the government are going to give them stimulus funds. Is enough reason for this, for that manipulation to keep going on. A productive citizen knows that where is this money you're giving me coming from? If I did not work for it, where is it coming from? Endless debt. That's debt. And a productive citizen knows that in one way or the other, he or she is going to pay back that money in taxes. That's why when you come across free things, just know that you are the product in one way or the other. You just might not know. That's what it is. So when we talk about monopoly board reality, monopoly, example, the government are saying, hey, we want the police officers to be the sole security officers. That's how they are enforcing. Pay your taxes, pay this, do that, and we'll make sure the police are there to save you and things like that. Monopoly basically means that you are the sole producer of a particular goods or service in a monopolistic market. For example, now in Nigeria, Dangote can decide, hey, he wants to buy this market. And go to trade fair, you see these things happening. You come across people that will tell you that they bought that market. They are going to be the sole supplier or manufacturer of that particular product in an entire market. That's basically monopoly. So now, a wealth concentration is not a ball. It is mathematical guarantee of a system where the bankers control the supply and guarantee their own bailouts. No matter the decision they make, no matter anything, no matter the overinvestment, no matter the malinvestment or anything that they make, they know that they are still there. The commercial banks knows that the central banks are definitely going to bail them out. The big companies, the flight companies, for example, South Africa Airways, the government of South Africa knows that they cannot let South Africa Airways go bankrupt because that is the flight of the country. That is they are providing a service. So they know that they cannot let such company or whichever thing that they are to go out of business or go out of service because it's going to tarnish the image of the country itself. Things like that. That's how the central banks and the government officials come together, engineer this process of fiat currency and control, and then they try to make it work. And there's also ways, I don't know why the slides are not showing. I think this is really not the full slide. There are also processes where we are talking about central bank digital currency. It's supposed to be in this particular work, where we talk about central bank digital currency. That one is absolute control. I don't know if this is the full slide. That particular one is absolute control. Anything you're doing, because right now we can't call it absolute control because we still have cash system. We can still do a transaction on the cash system. I can sell my Bitcoin and get cash for it without needing a bank account. So now imagine where a situation where the government or the central banks enforces a scenario where I have to use a central bank digital currency for them to invade in my privacy, my financial privacy, and things like that. Where they get to know everything that's happening, where they get to decide, okay, I don't like the way you're spending money on vacation. Confiscate your bank, close your accounts, things like that. That's basically what central bank digital currency is, in my honest opinion. So a silent tax, like I said, in one way or the other, whichever free money you get from stimulus check, stimulus fund, or whichever fund the government or the central banks are funding you, you are definitely going to pay it back in one way or the other. Through taxes, the silent tax, time, labor, cash savings from the many are continuously siphoned to support the unchecked physical expansion of the few. The Cantillon effect. If I was close to the money printers, when the money gets into the when the money gets freshly printed, I have access to the money printers. That's money is going to come to me freshly printed. I am not going to feel the effect of the inflation yet, because when the money got into the market, it came to me, it came to the wealthy, it came to you and I. Now, the people that are not here in this class now, they don't have those freshly printed money. We are now the big boys in town. We are now the ones that we just got paid. you know, when we start enjoying those money, when we start buying properties with those money at a very cheap rate, we are definitely not going to feel that hyperinflation yet because we are close to the money printers. That's how the government keep the fiat currencies manipulation or bubble going. There has to be a central bank. First of all, there has to be a government. And then they have to be a central bank that will do the balancing and journaling and calculating of the freshly printed money. How much was printed? How much did we burn? And then we printed these new currencies, you know. And then now they need the commercial banks also. The commercial banks are there to actually practice fractional banking reserve legally. What they're doing, no government, nobody can come and arrest them. If they borrow all your money out and tell you there's no money on ground for you, nothing will happen. That's not where I want to put my money because those kind of people can decide to block my bank account at any time. If they don't like the way I'm talking to them at the banks, they can decide to close my bank account. It's happening. For example, there was a situation that happened with my friends, yeah. The guy that paid that money, the guy that deposited the money went back to his bank and reported the payment that he made the payment out of duress for a transaction that he did the transaction because he's unable to keep up with the rent, like the place he was supposed to rent. Now, when they caught him, they were like, okay, send back the money. And he sent back the money and went back to report that same transaction. The banks closed all the banks. When he that sends the money to the guy, they closed the bank account of that person he sent the money to. The person that guy sent the money to, they closed his bank account. That was how they were closing all the accounts that got linked to that particular transaction from that particular guy. So that's not where I want to put my money. That's not where I want to store my time and my energy. That's not where I want to save my money. At a group of people, that's what it is. Central point of failure, counterparty risks. There's always somebody that don't like the way you're talking to them, that wants to block your bank account, that wants to stop you from saving your money. Then when you think about digital, central bank digital currency, then we know you understand that that is even going to be the worst. Because currently now we still have cash to keep us private. For these corrupt officials to not know how we are transacting with our time and our energy. So now when we get to a point where they put up everything digitally on their own dashboard and data to know how they are siphoning the money and everything, then man, I'm not sure I even can explain what will happen at that particular period of time. So yes, please, if there are more questions, if there's anything you would want me to touch on more, please chime in. I think Destiny, I think the slides are really not complete, or maybe I was fast, or was too fast. I don't know. But we didn't really touch. Somewhere we were supposed to touch on central bank digital currency, just for people to understand what that means.
Possibly, if you can pull it up from your end, I send you the Bitcoin diploma book, so possibly if you can.
Yeah. Let's, for the few minutes we have while we are waiting for questions. Yeah, I can, because that's an important one, yeah, because people, but I believe not everyone okay, I think it's opening or something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so while Blaze is trying to open the Bitcoin diploma book, I just want us to, ask questions, or
Yes,
maybe share what you understand, any contribution to add based on your own experience that will make it more interesting for us to know that you are following. Please go ahead. We have Issa. Issa, what do you have to say? Do you have any questions to ask? Sam Clark, Fayaz, Faith, John, Talibo, any question before Blaze moves to what he has for us today?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see my screen.
You can see it here.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is more like a brief history, yeah. It's a brief history of fiat money from the gold standard to the creation of Federal Reserve. in 1913. That's why when we started that the fiat money system has been going through devaluation like from its birth. That's when, since the time of Adam and Eve, that's when devaluation of money has been occurring because power is being entrusted to a group of people, the central banks, the government, first of all, the central banks, the commercial banks, and the wealthy. Because the wealthy now, why the wealthy is there to play is the wealthy seem like people that have mind, people that have the gods, people that probably inherited properties from their forefathers. Those are the people that will, let's call them the wealthy. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's give them that 3 points. They are the wealthy. They have to keep the bubble going because now they have the guts, they have the morale to live on the debt standard, to live on it, to continue keeping the debt creation going. Because now they know that you are going to be printing money out of thin air. And they know that they are not saving their money. They are not saving their money on the rands or in the naira. Whichever money they have in whichever of those currencies are money that they want to spend for a particular period of time. They are not going to keep billions of naira in a particular bank account that is not going to be earning interest for them. And they know that they don't need those interests because they know that the money is freshly printed and they do not want to get devalued. They don't want the government to, they don't want to be involved in the bubble that they are aware of, because that's what it is. They are aware that the government will definitely devalue the currency. The government can never keep up. The central banks, they cannot keep up to economic stability. They already know that the boom is going to keep up booming until the day of the bust. They like the boom because there's freshly money printed for the wealthy and whichever the people closest to the money printers. They know that time is coming. They know that time is coming for everything to burst and everybody there'll be uncertainty. People are scared of losing their money. People are just, they don't know what's happening. So yeah, that's the history of money. This is barely talking about how we move from the gold standard and how the government of the United States proclaim that okay, you cannot exchange your gold for US dollar. You have to give up your US dollar now, which is the gold, on the gold standard. Yeah, that's we'll call the gold sound money because the government cannot devalue it just the way they are devaluing the paper currency. Because we know that the gold, on the gold standard, gold supply only increases by a very, very low amount of percent. Whereas on the fiat money standard, the increase in debt, the debt spiral is increasing exponentially in trillions of dollars. It is not a joke. We can't find that on a sound money system. You can't print Bitcoin out of thin air. You cannot go and just print gold out of thin air. You can only dilute gold, which they also did. I don't know if you covered it here. They also diluted the gold. The amount of gold that they had during the time of paper certificate, they were diluting it. So when they asked the citizen to give up their gold for $20.67, whereas when it's time for them to buy back that gold, they were now buying it at $35. That's to say you're buying it for 40% more. Your savings has been eroded. Your purchasing power has lost its value at 40%. So these are the ways that the government, the central banks, the wealthy, and the commercial banks are actually devaluing, taking away our purchasing power and things like that. So yes, we still have 4 minutes. I don't know if anybody has question. If there's anything I didn't really touch properly, please ask questions. Ask questions. This is the time for you to actually understand why you need Bitcoin in your savings, why you need to start stacking, why you need to start earning in Bitcoin just to keep up, man. Because most times I ask myself, how do people that do not hold Bitcoin, how do they actually survive on a fully fiat standard? Because even if you're earning so amount in salary, man, there's something uncertain. You don't know how much the price of egg will increase to. if you're earning salary and you've calculated your salary for the particular month or for the particular year, you obviously do not know that uncertainty, economic uncertainty, based on human action. You don't know anything. Monthly, weekly, daily, uncertainties are certain. You never can tell. That's just life, reality of life. So when people don't understand ways for them to hedge themselves for the long term, not for the short term, as a matter of fact, because when we think about it, some people save when they save for like 2 years, 3 years, and things like that. The money does not really lose value. Even there are countries where the money is losing value on a daily basis. So you never can tell, man. So where are you edging? Where are you saving? If you're not owning real estates and stocks and all those things, where exactly are you storing your time and your energy? It has to be Bitcoin. That's why we are here, to make you understand how the financial monetary system is being manipulated, controlled, and being taxed, silently taxed. And there's monopoly in it also, whereby the government says that this is fiat money. And also there's legal tender law. This is fiat money. By decree, you must use this money. Is this money or nothing? Which is what
Yo,
the US dollar did, and that's how they became the superpower. Because whoever controls the money controls the entire world. That's what it is. That's why there's nothing special about what the United States is doing. They basically just control the money. Monopolistically, they control the money. They make sure that their money is being valued worldwide. Just paper. So the day that you say, I am not involved, is the day you get your freedom, your sovereignty,
mm,
away from whichever. Because to me now, it feels like drama, man. It feels dramatic. I'm not really following up with most of the things that are happening and all this shit, because it's just so pathetic and then and
that day.
that's why you have to be proud of these sections we are having now, because now you start seeing it from a different dimension. You're not going to be seeing it as a normal guy that, hey, I don't understand. Because the period when I don't understand these things, I'm like, hey, God, when, God, when, come and help. Help. Every day, help. Every day you're screaming help because you don't understand. You don't even know when the next breakthrough is going to come from, because you don't understand. But now I'm looking at them from a view from one side lens, and I'm like, okay, I see what you guys are doing there. Okay, you want to do this, you want to do that because you are in charge of this, you're in charge of that. It's basically freshly printed money. And then the people that are close to the money printers benefiting. The counterland effect is something we also need to touch about. That the fact that when the money comes into the economy, the people that are close to these printers and the benefiters, why? The wealthy, basically, now they are borrowing that debt at a very cheap rate.
Sorry, Blaze, before you move forward, Issa has his hand up. So Issa, if you don't mind,
Mm, mm.
and Sam Clark. Okay, go ahead, Issa.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's really insightful. My question is about the new financial system that is offered through Bitcoin. Now, there's a challenge that, again, government wants is the same one providing legislation for this ecosystem to thrive. Are we still not going to be burdened by the same problem, by the same government, which is trying to deny the financial freedom? Because they are the ones who are going to give legislation to all the service providers to enable them to operate. So how do we go about such a challenge?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Isa. That's a very, very good one. So we are going to go through that challenge through our own node, man. First of all, the system is being built mathematically on the tech, on it like they cannot control this particular system. They cannot control it. Because now they cannot control my node. They cannot control what I decide to do with my own node. They cannot control the kind of wallet that I want to use. And it's a self-custodial wallet. They can't control that aspect. That's why we always talk about it. Avoid exchanges. What you just said now can only occur on an exchange level. When you're using an exchange, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, and all those places, that's where you face those kind of problems, because now you have your information there. You did KYC and all those things, so they know who's behind or who has that particular wallet or address and things like that. So the best way for you is to consider self-custodial wallet, a wallet where you have keys to your own wallet address, you have your seed phrase, you have everything. The government cannot. It's just also now when you have your own self-custodial wallet and then you decide to add more layer of security, we'll still touch. We are just getting started. I think moving forward here in the class, we'll touch about that. I think Glenn, I don't know if it's Glenn that was going to touch that particular aspect, but he touched it so well on a technical point of view, where you get to understand why the government cannot stop this revolution. There's something I've forgotten, the Austrian economics that said it. You cannot fight the government. 2 years of fighting the government, nobody has come close to doing anything, because you can't fight people that are in power, people that have security, that the army and the police are listening to them. So you can't fight those kind of authorities or regulations. You just slightly slide in something that they cannot control, which is Bitcoin, bro. So when you talk about the regulation and all those aspects, you must avoid those exchanges. You must find ways to actually use Bitcoin in a sovereign way. These are the reasons why I do not joke about the technical aspect of Bitcoin, because I want to be totally sovereign. I want everything to be on my DEX here, my node, everything. And there's miners. That's what we are going to touch moving forward. You get to see why the government cannot control this system. They cannot. But also we got to avoid exchanges where they can decide to confiscate the Bitcoin, that an exchange that blocks your account due to exchange rules, or to them trying to keep up with the AML, anti-money laundering law from the government. When the government reports your account on Binance or Coinbase or anywhere for anti-money laundering, even CZ, the owner of Binance, he could not escape it also. He served for that particular cause too. He served my country. Okay, it's not my country, but he did serve for anti-money laundering also. So if he can go and serve, stepping down from his own company and go and serve the regulators, then you think about it. At the end of the day, these exchange owners, these exchange CEOs, they are working with the government. And that's what we are trying to avoid. That's what we don't want. That's why Bitcoin is a revolution. We must try our possible best to prioritize self-custody, hardware wallets, those hardware tools. If you cannot build them, you buy one. When you say you want to be totally self-sovereign, if you're technical enough, you build your own hardware tools also. You look into node running your own node. You look into mining. Those are the things that will make you understand why the government cannot control, why the government cannot stop or regulate Bitcoin. You can regulate every other thing due to exchange and all those KYC. You must avoid KYC. I promise myself that I'm not going to KYC myself to any place, anybody, or any authority or anything anymore. My days of KYC has ended totally, because that's me just giving out my data free of charge, not with this knowledge of Bitcoin, fam. For example, now, there are people that will say, hey, because in one way or the other, we still need those exchanges to buy from fiat to Bitcoin. There are ways for us to exchange from fiat to Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, if you have any fiat currency, if I have the bank account, I will give you Bitcoin. If you have cash, I will give you Bitcoin and collect it, just to make sure we have that peer-to-peer, for you to not feel the need to go into an exchange. That's how bad the exchanges are. An exchange would receive, according to what Anna explained that stuff. She said the exchange collected their $20,000, and then for some reason, well, I forgot. I don't even understand what they said. For some reason, they refused to release that $20,000, claiming that the money came from Russia, that the money came from Ukraine. That is against their regulation that is against their agreement and things like that. That's how they did not release that $20,000. Euro. Yeah, she said it was euro. They stole that money. That's what exchanges do, in my opinion. That's them trying to please Uncle Sam. That's them trying to please the regulators and the government officials. That's what they can do. That's how far they can go. Confiscate your money, close down your wallet, tell you that, hey, go and do more verification. If you cannot provide the things that they want you to provide, then you can't have access to your money. So the best way, like I said, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question yet. The best way to edge against government regulators are to avoid those KYCs. Start looking for self-custodial tools, because already the government cannot control the Bitcoin network. The Bitcoin network has been running for years. It will take the money that it will take them to regulate or do only a 51% attack on the Bitcoin network. The money is not in this world. They cannot print such amount of money. That's one of the points on its own. They cannot print such amount of money to backwards, to take back the technical places or the amount of ledger or the amount of transaction that has been mined on the Bitcoin network, to take it back, which is basically if it's 1% attack. We've gone past that. The network effect is far, far gone. Tested and trusted. But you just got to know ways to avoid
answered my question. Thank you.
Like that. Yeah, you said?
You've answered my question very well. Thank you.
Yes, appreciate your question, man. Thank you. So anybody has question? We have 2 minutes in, we are above our time now. I hope I'm able to do justice to the fiat money explanation. Basically, it is a money of control by the government, the central bank, the commercial banks, which is the bank you're using, because you do not trade directly with the central banks. You cannot. The central bank are there to bail out the commercial banks, to keep the boom going, to keep the bubble going. That's what the central banks are there doing for the commercial banks. Like I said, the government would not want the South African Airways to go bankrupt. What are they going to do? They are going to come out and bail them. That's them just printing money out of thin air without printing the same amount of goods and services, just to keep the bubble going. To fund the poor, thinking they're funding the poor in one way or the other, you pay it back in taxes. The amount that you think that it was given to you free of charge, you go back. At the end of the day, you're going to pay it in VAT. Value-added tax for buying something at ShopRite, for buying something whichever place that you're doing. These are the reasons why we do the circular economy. Mike is gone.
I'm so sorry for cutting you short. Two persons have their hands up. I think they want to ask questions.
It's gone out. Yeah. Okay. Please ask who the first person.
Yeah,
I don't know who the first.
Sorry. Go ahead, Sam Clark. I'm so sorry for coming.
Sorry, man.
GM, everyone. GM, sir.
GM.
I wanted, similar to
what I'm not used to this GM something. No, it sounds like all this crypto something, but yeah, welcome, Sam Clef.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for this session. So I wanted to ask, similar to what Issa said. I just I'm trying to like put like an opinion and also like ask a question also. Then the opinion is like I don't feel there will ever be like 100% sovereignty or like ownership. There will still be that 1% that someone still controls. And then the question I want to ask is, for Bitcoin now, let me give a scenario. Now, if for instance, even if I go to a SEX or a DEX, they always ask for that KYC, verify your identity, like prove you are who you say you are. Then even after, let's say after now acquiring that Bitcoin, it's not as if I'll buy Bitcoin and just say, let me just keep it. The main purpose of everything is so that I have freedom of that money. I can spend it. I can use it willingly anytime I feel like using it. So let's say coming back now, you want to convert because at the end of the day, it's not everywhere that supports like spending in Bitcoin. It's not everywhere you go, they will say pay in Bitcoin. One way or the other, you have to come back to that centralized like oracle, that cycle. You still have to like convert that money back to Fiat to be able to spend it. So my question is, like what is that point whereby, let's say natively, everybody will trade and transact in Bitcoin? Like, will they be ever that point where, like, instead of now saying one Bitcoin is 60 million naira, for instance, where would that point be? Like, it won't be like, how will I say it? The value won't be tied to that centralized Fiat.
Yeah, we would get there, man. We'll get there. These are the reasons all these things are happening all around the world currently now. You understand? We'll get to a point whereby I would get to spend my fiat. I will get to live on the Bitcoin standard. That's why it takes you and I to do those things. That's which you want to see in the world. You have to start providing it. I want to see peer-to-peer in Naira. What am I going to do? I have to create a group of WhatsApp people that want to trade peer-to-peer, that want to convert their Bitcoin to Naira, their Naira to Bitcoin. If I can't find it, I have to create it myself. Why? I do not want to use centralized exchanges. Currently, the centralized exchange that I use, I don't like the fact that my data, and with the way the Nigerian governments are going, I don't like the fact that my data are there. So I do not want to use them anymore. I want to trade with Destiny, knowing fully well that it's just both of us that knew that we traded that particular amount of BTC. Whichever thing that you want to see on the Bitcoin standard, you either have to create it by yourself or look for ways to go about it. When you talk about at the end of the day, spending, converting our BTC to Naira or fiat currency and things like that. Yes, if that's the only resort, that's what we will have to do, you know. But currently, that's why we say we are very, very early. We are still very, very early. Out here, what me, myself, I'm building on Bit Fitness now is for me to be able to live on the Bitcoin standard. How am I going to do that? I am going to do it consistently every blessed day. As a matter of fact, when it's time for me to provide real estate, when it's time for me to provide apartments for people that wants to pay with Bitcoin, if I can't find anybody that will do it, I will have to provide it myself. These are the reasons why we talk about stacking, like we talk about daily accumulation of wealth, because this opportunity can arise. And currently now, when I know that I can actually borrow against my Bitcoin, that's something doable. For cheap fiat currency, that's basically what the government are doing, borrowing, living on a debt spiral. Whichever thing that we want to see, we must understand that we can actually provide them ourselves. We are still very, very early, like I said. It gets to a point, even me, at the end of the day, that period where I have to convert half of what I'll be needing for the month in fiat. Just why? Because my landlord, we're still very early to the point where my landlord don't want to hear that I want to pay him on Bitcoin. The water supplier, which is from the government, do not want to hear that you want to pay them in Bitcoin. That's why we are still early. That's not going to bother me because now I am going to focus on my community, the merchants where I want to spend my time and my energy, which is basically my money. I am going to go there, educate them. If you're not going to accept Bitcoin payments, I am going to go to the next Nigerian shop that wants to accept Bitcoin payments. I'll keep educating both of them. Whoever starts accepting Bitcoin payments, I'll focus on him. He won my heart. He won my money. That's who I'm going to focus on, even if I'm going to pay in premium. But I will definitely want to pay in premium because why? I want to spend directly on Bitcoin standard, on a Lightning network, financially private, so especially when I don't want to own a bank account. I really do not want to own a bank account anymore. Anything KYCT now, like I said, I do not want to get involved. That's it for me. It's a choice. That's why I decided, okay, I want to build a Bitcoin circular economy. I want to live on the Bitcoin standard. It might not be 100% yet, but we are getting there. That's why we do what we do every blessed day. So yeah, anything you want to see, you just got to create it. Peer to peer. As a matter of fact, with time, we'll have to create peer to peer. I send you Bitcoin, you send me Naira, I send me Naira, I send you Bitcoin. Trustlessly. You know, but we have to trust you. Don't be saying we'll sell you 1 million now.
No,
We'll sell
no
you 1
trust.
million BTC, we'll not see you again.
No trust. Sorry. Wait, before we move on, I just want to say thank you so much for the participation and also, you know, the activeness of this session. So I want to bring it clear that we are way past our normal time for classes. So that means we are officially done for today's session. But we are kind of like extending for Q&A. So if you are interested in asking questions or getting more insights, we welcome you to stay. If not, you are free to carry on today. But at the same time, we also want to inform you that our next session will be on Wednesday. So we look forward to seeing you then. So as I said, thank you once again. This you can carry on. So I want to ask one question in terms of that trust. Bitcoin is don't trust verify. When you are creating that P2P group, I believe that we need to trust that trust system needs to be there.
Yes, now that's what I'm saying now. It has to be somebody like Destiny. Now I know that he has a lot to lose to go on the way to 1 million. He has to be my guys, my crew, my close cohorts, my close niggas that they have a lot to lose. Not even a lot to lose. Their integrity is enough for them to act right. Because that's basically what we are asking for when we talk about peer-to-peer. Okay, for example, now there's a peer-to-peer group I'm in here in South Africa. I had to attend meetup at a particular period of time before they added me to both of those groups. I showed my proof of work by showing up. That was my proof of work for people to know me on ground, meet me one-on-one, and know that, okay, Blaze is reliable. You can trade with him. And currently now, bro, I can even trade, I can even buy a house and I'll sell Bitcoin and buy a house here and I'll get the cash. That's what trust is.
Yeah.
That's you trusting your fellow man and not the government that you cannot see. It's different. Or and one exchange that you don't know if they're going to give out your data to the CIA or the NSA. These are the kind of trust we are talking about. Not trust that, hey, I trust this guy is in Kaduna. Hey, no, Baba.
No.
Nah, man.
We have to verify you to trust you.
Yes, we got to verify you, checkmate you. Come on, check out.
Yeah.
Check
like Issa said, now we need to create the market. We must start accepting Bitcoin for services we offer. This way, adoption will grow, starting with P2P.
Ask Destiny. Everything that I do. If you want me to send you anything in anywhere, I accept Bitcoin payments. If you want me to help you buy this cap and send it to you, I accept Bitcoin payments. I will send loads of them. This cloth now, if you want me to send it and send it to you anywhere you are in the world, it starts by us making it, showing our community, showing everybody that yes, we are willingly accepting Bitcoin payment. Bro, there's nothing I cannot accept Bitcoin for. As long as there's premium profits to be made at the end of the day also. Why not, man? And now when we talk about the profits, I'm not chasing a short-term profit. I already know what I'm going to be stacking just by providing a service or providing a goods. I am okay with, even if it's 5% that I'll be making from anything. 1% save, I'll be okay, don't worry. Depending on the tediousness of how I got the goods and the service, things like that. You just got to know, man. For example, now, at the end of the day, now, if we start a proper service now where people can walk in and ask for our services, bro, Bitcoin payments is taking 10%, 15% discount. Why? I want people to convert their rands to Bitcoin and pay me. If you cannot convert it to Bitcoin and pay me, if it's 200 rands in fiat currency in rands, you give me that 200 rands. If I'm telling you to give me 185 instead of 200 now, give me 185 on a Bitcoin in Bitcoin. It's your choice, man. Yeah. So if you're okay with giving me 200 rands for the ease of use, which is what fiat currency is, that is, you don't want to go and start looking for somebody that you give your rands to. You give the person 185 rands. Now the person will give you 185 worth of BTC. You send it to me, and you keep the 15 rands as the little stress you went through, you passed through to pay me in Bitcoin. 15% discount. That's all I'll be giving, and I'll let you guys know so that you patronize us in Bitcoin.
Normal.
So yes, that's how we do it, man.
Normal. Sam Clark also posted this. There's a way to verify Bitcoin transaction trustlessly in P2P, but the fiat transaction is the problem. So I want to just touch on this. Something like when we are talking about the trust system, we're not really talking about verifying the transaction. We are talking about verifying ourselves as, traders, or as human beings that want to exchange service to service or value for value. For example, I can send you Bitcoin and you can run away with my Bitcoin, thinking that we are doing P2P, but you just scam me and run away. So we are now talking about how can we trust ourselves, or how can we verify ourselves to trust ourselves rather than verifying the transaction. Because once we verify ourselves, once we trust ourselves, automatically we don't need to verify transaction because it will go smoothly. Yeah, Sam Clark, go ahead.
Okay, why I actually say that is because I'm actually into dev. Okay, there's a way we can actually say we build an escrow, maybe for Bitcoin transactions, whereby till till user A verify that user B have sent him that fiat before that Bitcoin will leave. But there's an uncertainty that if user A will actually send the fiat. So that's actually what I meant by there's actually a way to verify if this user send this particular user Bitcoin. But what I meant is actually that trust, like a way to automate that process that,
Uh,
like, you were saying something about building a cycle whereby everyone trusts each other. But to do that, I think it will take, like, it will be a lot.
like, okay,
So,
Yeah, what we do here is we make sure the people that we add into that particular group are people that are known, that somebody can vouch for. For example, now if we create those kind of group now, let's say myself and Destiny, we are the admin now. If we want to add you to that group, somebody Destiny that has to vouch for you, Destiny will be like, hey, I know him from Ikorodu, come, let him come into the group. I know him one-on-one. I know his mother. If you said Google, I know his mother. I know everybody. Things like that. Like I've
yeah,
met him. Somebody needs to vouch for you. Somebody, okay, I'm not sure anybody vouch for me, or probably somebody vouch for me without my knowledge. But somebody just needs to vouch for you, because out here, especially out here, yeah, people are really scared. Especially these white guys, they are really, really scared to not add a tax operator or a tax man or one government regulator, one compliance man into the group that will now come and start seeing your transaction and start doxing yourself. Because now you'll be doxing yourself. All your information will be with this person. It's not even running away with the money tab or any of those things. It's also you doxing yourself, because a transaction that was meant to be peer to peer without an intermediary or things like
but
that.
does not need
Now
escrow. Yeah.
you've given out your information because a CIA or one taxman is now involved in the group. There's a lot, man. Just because now Nigeria is not really hell bent or ethic, or some of these African countries are not really enforcing tax laws and things like that. Bro, out here, niggas they are running of this for this tax man, because if you invade taxes, bro, there's jail time, man. It's not a joke. So it takes a brave man to be like, nah, fuck this shit. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to comply to whichever this drama these people are putting up to. Because at the end of the day, it's all dramatic. We already understand. So when you understand how the fiat currencies is being manipulated, is functioning monopolistically, you get to understand that, okay, I need to find ways. I need to look for tools. I need to keep myself totally sovereign. It's not a joke, man. There are people that if you want to send them BTC, they focus on Lightning Network, because they know that there's a level of privacy with the Lightning Network. People are looking for tools as we speak. People are creating tools. People are creating tools. It's not a joke, man. From Lightning, you swap to Bitcoin on chain. It's only going to take an hour. I need to move from Lightning Network to on chain. Bro, that's some level of that's some level of privacy there, man. Without your name. And then why would you want to convert those kind of money to your KYC platform, like your Coinbase, your Kraken, your Bitnob? You don't want to do that, man. The only money that I want to leave on my Bitnob and all those kind of places are more like, let's say, our
Things.
Nigerian business now. I want to convert the proceeds. And I won't think about it. That should be my last resort. That's not going to be my first choice. That would be like, let's say I look for Destiny, I look for everybody, I can't find anybody to trade with peer to pay. Then I will not focus on that one because I need the money or I'm in a haste or things like that. If I'm not in a haste, bro, I'll chill. If there's anybody that needs Naira, I'll give them the Naira, they give me BTC. That's why I don't, there's a way I operate with this kind of things, man. I convert it to business. Because if I have Naira, let's say I have Naira, let's say I borrowed Naira from somebody and then I'm running a peer-to-peer exchange. Somebody has BTC because that's what it is. You have BTC, you have Naira, you have rands. Anybody that wants rands for BTC, you are available to trade with them. You're making it. You're providing liquidity. Should I just call you? At the end of the day, you become a market maker. That's basically what you are. You're providing liquidity. This person wants BTC, you're there. This person wants Naira, you're there. This person wants rands, you're there. But now I'm saying no to every other shitcoin and opening any other KYC platform and things like that because I do not want any of my information out there anymore. You know. So yeah, South African bank should be my last and but least by God's grace. You know. If I go to Brazil now, let's say I decide to go to Brazil, things like that. I'll look for Brazilian Bitcoin community. They are there already. I'll just go there and I'll tell them I want to spend my Bitcoin. If I go to, for example, if I go to Brazil now or I go to any other country, I go to Kenya. If I go there, I don't need to open a bank account. As a matter of fact, I would have contacted Felix at the airport already. Felix, hey, peer to pay. If Felix here peer to pay Bitcoin, full speed, full speed. Prior Bitcoin also in Brazil. If the year you want to convert BTC to fiat currency in cash, full speed, because the least it is going to cost me is 1 to 2% premium or 5% premium, and I'm ready to pay that instead of going through banking system. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's basically what it is. Fiat money is controlled by the government, the central banks, the commercial banks, and the wealthy. The wealthy are involved because they have assets. The wealthy, who are the wealthy? Billionaire Peking. Or $10, Dantata, those ones that inherited properties. They inherited properties from their father, their great-grandfather, and then they decided to use those properties that they inherited from their great-grandfather, and then they are using it as collateral. When they use those properties as collateral, real estate, stocks, or whichever thing that they are using for collateral, to borrow money from the central bank. These are wealthy people, so they borrow money. They are speaking with Emefiele once, directly, one-on-one, or $10 and co. They are speaking to Emefiele direct or whichever central bank governor is happening there now. You see the way they locked that central bank governor. All of them, because even the central bank governor want to chop the eye of the Nigerian government. It's happening real life. Real life, man. That's how Tinubu messed him up. That's how it is with nations, different nations. If you are not doing the bidding of the government will mess you up at the end of the day. That's how it is, man. So yeah, I hope I'm able to do justice to this fiat money system.
You were able to
press on their neck.
You were able to mother the kids.
Mother the kids, oh boy.
Honestly, yeah.
Mother them all, man. You know.
Honestly,
yeah, because we need to talk about these things. That's why we are here. And the beautiful part is the fact when we come together like this to share our knowledge from our different perspectives. Because now I'm speaking from two perspectives. I'm speaking from the Naira perspective and I'm speaking from the South African's perspective. And I'm not going to say that I have all the knowledge about what's happening and things like that, but with the little that I've studied when it comes to the Bitcoin standard, at least I should be able to stand and speak with these people and be like, hey, I know what you're doing. Yeah, you think I don't know. Yeah. You're just a billionaire son. You've never done business in your life. You don't know what the merchant is going through. You don't know what the day-to-day workers are going through. Hey, shut up. Yes, I could be able to tell them, the wealthy men, I should be able to tell them, hey, shut up, you don't know what's happening. You're just a wealthy billionaire son or a millionaire son that just inherited property and getting cheap loans, cheap debts, and using it to keep the circle going. That's what it is, man. You understand? That's why the understanding has to be there. To understand what's happening they call it economics, but you must understand that it is not economics. Economics is meant to be human action. What we are going to buy tomorrow now, what's going to happen, uncertainty, we don't know. And then you want to calculate it, engineering, you want to engineer an economy. It's not possible, man. We are only enjoying the boom right now. So while we are enjoying the boom, we must try to stack sats. we must try to buy as much Bitcoin. That's why they tell you stay humble and stack sats. That's only what's going to save you, Babami. So yeah, I know the sweat said don't try.
So yeah, thank you so much, Blaze, for this.
Yeah.
Any other question? Sam Clark, hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks, man. It's been an hour plus, an hour 30 minutes. I appreciate you guys for staying this long. I'm also at the group, the Bitcoin Africa Story group. If there's anything you do not understand, please do not hesitate to ask. You know, so we talk about these things because now we are speaking from different nationalities, from different jurisdictions, from different community perspective, things like that. So let's talk about these things. I'm always ready to talk about these things, you know. Share knowledge, share ideas, share information, you know. Yeah, because these are free things, but we don't leverage them enough. So yes, thank you very much, man. Thank you. I appreciate all the questions and inputs. Appreciate that.
So yeah, thank you once again, Blaze. I want to say a big thank you openly and also privately. I'll say a big thank you. And for everyone that joined today, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Have a great day. And
thank you, guys. Oh, that's true. I'll be the one covering Wednesday one, right?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was thinking maybe that's the complete aspect of digital currency, central bank digital currency.
Okay. You know that this one is chapter 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Chapter 4 would be that digital currency.
Okay. All right, man. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good night.